thing. So what you're saying then is that the foundation that you would establish at that age is something that can't be replicated later.
Right. It's the only time in your life to do it.
So would it be fair to say, I just want to kind of give an analogy. I feel like when people try to learn, maybe me, okay, so I'll be me. If I try to learn language at a later date, I instantly have this obstacle to it, this resistance to it. And part of the resistance is I'm constantly comparing the language I'm trying to learn to the one that I speak, and constantly trying to translate, and that kind of prevents a barrier. But what I hear you saying is that if you're exposing infants to language through interaction, it's almost like it's slipping in without really the...
Oh, it's absolutely effortless. And so the best language learners on the planet are babies. So when you're born, think of the globe has, and I prepared for this, 7,000 active languages right now. Some thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago, it was more like 10,000. So languages are shrinking. But when you're born, the languages of the globe are composed of 800 different speech sounds, like 200 vowel sounds and 600 consonant sounds. So during infancy, your brain, you start with this. Now, when I say hear, I really mean like a step beyond, your ear function. It's really in the wiring of your brain, the making a distinction of a speech sound, like duh, guh. Those are speech sounds. So during infancy, during the first 7 months of life, that brain goes from 800 speech sounds to 50, because the brain specializes. Because you're born with whatever the number is. It's like close to 1 billion neurons in your brain. And you don't really add neurons after you're born, like you do some a little bit. But for the most part, that's the brain. You have your neurons. And then it's through your experiences, primarily in the first 3 years of life, that you wire your brain. You connect those neurons, right? And so for speech and language, it's in the first months of life, because I said that's a foundation, right? So, but that wiring is, when you're connecting neurons, you're creating like pathways. What are things that are important, and what are things I use a lot of? So I'm going to grow those pathways, and then I'm going to prune away the pathways I'm not using. So in speech sounds, all those speech sounds that I'm not exposed to, not interacting with, they're just going to fall away. So later in life, when you try to learn, French, the French R, or to comedic effect in movies, people with an Asian heritage, right, trying to the L and the R sound in the English language, right? That's a speech sound. So the reason why they don't hear it, their brain was not wired to differentiate that speech sound. So therefore, if you can't in your brains differentiate it, how to reproduce it and verbalize it, it's very difficult to learn. Of course, you can learn it, but it's really, really difficult. So what you're really talking about is, number one, like just the classic, I'm going to take this brain that I have that's wired for this language and try to learn a different language. A huge element there is the speech sounds are different, and I can't hear all of them, and I have trouble verbalizing them as well. And then you, of course, sentence structure and everything else that's even more complicated.